Hello, class. We're now in the measurement section. When we talk about skills for children, any grade level to really build on and learn that's important for science, I would put measurement up there at the top. You can't do a lot of science unless you know how to measure. Scientists use the metric system, and the metric system is really easy, in my opinion. Of course, I'm a little biased, but you don't really have to know a lot for the metric system. For science, you may have had some instruction in math as far as the metric system, and where you learn to move the decimal place to figure out what a kilogram, a gram, and all that stuff is. What I want to show you is really what you need to know in science as far as the metric system. You probably need to know this distance not probably, you need to know this distance right here, 1 centimeter, how long that is. You also probably need to know what a meter is, what that length is, because that's a frequent measurement in the metric system. Length. There are times where you'll use a millimeter. That's really it. I've never ever used hecto or deci or deca. I've never even used kilometers in the metric system for science. We're talking about for science. Actually, track people probably do think about kilometers and how long a kilometer is. But when you're teaching science, learning science, as far as length goes, this is what you need to have a feel for, what these distances are. Some other factoids that you need to know is that you might need to know that 1 centimeter equals, I've messed this up, 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. That comes in handy to know. Another thing that comes in handy to know is that 1 millimeter, I'm doing it again, 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. That's a factoid that you really need to know. Other than that, I'm not sure that you need to know anything else to teach science when it comes to length in the metric system. Sometimes you do volume in science. And what are good dimensions to know in volume would be, a good idea would be to be able to know what 100 milliliters are. That's a common graduated cylinder size right there. Also, sometimes you probably need to know 1 liter and how much that is. 10 milliliters is something that you might need to know. And then where it gets a little difficult is sometimes you have to go from volume to think about length, and a little factoid that's pretty important is that 1 milliliter, which is not a lot of liquid, actually can equal 1 centimeter cubed. A little what they call a centicube in math, which is length times width times height. So if you know what a centicube is in math, and you were able to put it on a hot plate, you didn't burn it, you melted it, and you poured it into a graduated cylinder, it would go up to the 1 milliliter dimension. Because basically, this is sort of thinking of liquid, and this is thinking of solid. So if you were to melt down 1 cubic centimeter, you would get 1 milliliter, which is sort of that's an important factoid to know, is that when doctors say, give him 10 cc's, they're saying give him 10 cubic centimeters. They're also saying give him 10 milliliters. Means the same thing. When it comes to mass, I don't know what you really need to know. I mean, I guess you do need to know 1 gram, and you probably need to know 1,000 milligrams equals 1 gram. You don't need to know centigrams. I've never ever used centigram to teach or learn science. I've never used deci or decagrams. Now there is a way to move your decimal place to keep up with all this, and that's fine that you know that. But as far as basic thinking about science and metric system, this is really pretty much all you need to know. The camera person is an 8th grade science teacher. Do you ever use any other metric than what I've just covered? She's shaking her head. So it's really not that much to know. I think sometimes math people, and I'm knocking math people, which I shouldn't do, people will make it a little confusing when you start talking about moving your decimal point to know decis and hectos, and a lot of that you don't ever use. So, all right, 2 activities you have, and I've modified one seriously for you because it's just not going to be practical to do. In the face-to-face class in the summer, we do a metric activity with watermelons. So I want you to look at that activity. In the fall, we do pumpkins, which is, I think, a little bit more interesting in a way because I've got another activity that goes with that from AIMS, Activities Integrating Math and Science. But you can actually do a lot of measurements with different fruits. You can count seeds, you can measure circumference. It's just a lot of things you could do. So you are asked to do something with that activity. The other activity that I want to cover right now, I took this from a curriculum called AIMS, Activities Integrating Math and Science, and it's called Metric Olympics. I've actually changed it some so that I'm not breaking copyright rules. I call it Metric Madness, just a different name, but some of the activities are very similar. I realize being at home, you may not be able to have all these things to do all these challenges. Basically, you're asked to do a cotton shot put challenge, and basically you guess how far you can throw a piece of cotton, and then you actually measure the distance, and then the difference is the competition. If you're doing this with groups, competing groups, see who is the best at guessing, and then measuring the difference between what they guess and what they actually do. And what I have is a table here where the cotton shot put, you use a 30 centimeter ruler, but you have to give your answer in millimeters for that one. There's the button pickup. You may not have buttons, but if you do, you can do the activity. There's the button weight. One I really want you to do, if you can't find a Pringles can, do something like a paper towel roll. You'll really be interested if you do this, I would predict, in that you measure the height and you measure the circumference. And your answer should be in centimeters. There's the straw javelin. So let me demonstrate that one. I brought a straw. Basically, you have a starting line, and you guess how far you can throw the javelin. And this particular unit is supposed to be in centimeters. And it says use a meter stick. If you don't have a meter stick, use a ruler. But basically, I want to say I can throw this, because this is a pretty sturdy straw. I can throw it, maybe it's better if I do it over here. This is going to be my starting point. I'm feeling how heavy it is. I'm going to say I'm going to be able to throw it from here to that wall down the hallway here. So let's see. Look at that. So, now I may not have guessed right, but if I had an idea how far that is, and I guess I could throw it to the wall, my difference would be 0 centimeters. So you got to measure it, see what it actually is, and then subtract the difference. That's a very simple activity. And I think everybody probably has a straw at their house to do this. So just pick and choose the ones that you can do. You may not have a scale to weigh these things. There's an activity, the button weight, where you guess the weight of buttons that you can pick up in your hand, and then you weigh the buttons. If you can do that, great. Just do as many as you can. There's a temperature guess. There's a penny grab test. There's the how far I can throw an airplane. Now, it asked for a trundle wheel. A trundle wheel is a measurement tool that they use. The police department uses it sometimes. They measure off distances from a school. Surveyors may use a trundle wheel. It's a quick way to calculate distance. It's a wheel, and when you turn it, it clicks, and each click for the trundle wheels I have is a meter. Over here in the United States, most trundle wheels measure in yards, feet and yards, but I have some at the school that measure in meters. If you have a trundle wheel, great. If not, you don't have to, well, you can still do the activity. You just may not be able to use a trundle wheel. You may have to use something else, like a meter stick. It's a lot of fun. I think you could do most of these. And I'm going to build a Google Sheets where y'all will put your data in as far as your guessing, your actual. And all I'm going to want is the difference. So I'll build a table for you and you just fill it in. It's a real fun activity. And again, all I can emphasize is the importance of measurement. So see if you can learn the metric system with these two activities, the Metric Madness and which is activity 23, assignment 23. And then it's watermelon pumpkin, but I don't expect you to go out and buy a watermelon or a pumpkin. But I do have something I'm going to ask you to do with that assignment. Just go open it up and look at it. It's in capital letters. Thank you.